Hi, do you have a daughter, a wife, a mother, a female figure that has influenced your life? What if that female figure came to you in confidence and confessed she had been sexually assaulted by her doctor? What would you say? How would you feel? How would you expect that culprit to be punished? Life in prison or the death penalty? Larry Nassar was a U.S. Olympic gymnastics who treated thousands of women when they sought medical guidance from what we thought was a well-respected doctor. The image he perceived in public was not the same image when he was behind closed doors with his patients. Being sexually assaulted is a life-changing event. This type of disturbance changes your path in life and changes who you are. How should a monster be punished when they inflict this type of pain upon hundreds of victims? If we are deeming life in prison to a criminal, why not legalize the death penalty? The care that is being provided to house these criminals are being funded by the taxpayers. We are paying to allow these dirtbags to live in a cell, watch TV, and be fed free meals. At what point do we draw the line? How about when one monster has sexually abused over 256 women and children? The death penalty would have to have stipulations outlining in what circumstances you would be eligible for this punishment. For starters, not eligible for parole and life in prison. This doctor abused his privilege and took advantage of women when they needed his help. The sentencing included 7 days of victims providing their statements and sharing their stories. There was more than 150 women that testified against Larry Nassar, sharing their experiences with him. Listening to their stories were disturbing. Some stood alone and some stood next to their families, explaining the pain that this man put them through. This man ruined hundreds of women's lives when he sexually assaulted them. They will be haunted by these moments, these memories, for the rest of their life. The pain this man put them through has been life-altering for everyone that was involved. All of the testimonies were disturbing. However, Kyle's was the story that stood out to me. Kyle Stevens was the first to tell her story. Unlike the other victims, Kyle wasn't a gymnastic, or even a patient of his, but instead a family friend. Kyle's first abuse took place when she was only 6 years old. She said in her testimony, it all started with him exposing himself to her. Later, it progressed to him masturbating in front of her, and then he took it to the next stage and started physically abusing her. At age 12, she finally gained the confidence and At age 12, she finally gained the confidence and the courage to tell her parents. However, their reaction was shocking. They didn't believe her. They actually forced her to apologize to Larry for making up such story, so they thought. For years, Larry was heavily involved in her life. In her final words, she stated, "Perhaps you haven't figured it out by now, but little girls don't stay little forever. They grow up into strong women who return to destroy your world." As a result, the president of Michigan State University and the entire board of the U.S. Gymnastics were forced to resign. Did these families get the justice they were looking for? Do they now feel comforted that this man is serving the rest of his life behind bars? Would the death penalty have given them that satisfaction? No, probably not. For most of the women, this tragedy was life-altering. Larry Nassar was not the person who he portrayed himself to be for the public. That image was all for show. Deep down, he was a monster. For all of the women that stood up and gave their testimonies in court, that is what helped put this man behind bars. That took courage. Their lives will be forever changed.